What's up, core reporters? Welcome back to my channel. It's time for a recap of what went down on last week's episode of Teen Mom Next Chapter. Per usual, I streamed the episode using Philo, and I've got a link in the description box that you can use in order to create a free account and start streaming your favorite shows today, including Teen Mom Next Chapter. So listen, y'all, they really dragged out the same tired old storylines in this episode of the show. Things that we've heard a million times before. It wasn't until halfway through that we finally get some new content. Okay, so we find out that Brianna's mom, Roxanne, had invited Devon and his family to come over and celebrate Thanksgiving at Brianna's house with Brianna and her family. And I thought that was really beautiful. And then at this point, Devon brings up the fact that Nova hasn't spoken to him since Halloween. And he asks Brianna if Nova is mad at him or something. And, we all know that she's hurt that he left the state. So I do think that it has to do with that. And I got to say, y'all, I think I'm a little bit Amber traumatized because we're so used to her going like a year without speaking to her daughter that I was like, oh, wait, is this Halloween of last year? And now like a year later, he's trying to spend Thanksgiving with them like the November. No. It was just a span of like 2 weeks or something like that in this case. Now, then we get to see Ashley going to court to get some situation resolved with Devon and everything. And so there's something that I didn't understand, which is why she was so late to court. So she knew that court started at 9 a.m. She knew that she lived 20 minutes away from court. So why is it that you were leaving your home at 9:30 to get to court at 9 a.m.? And you've got your mom in the car. So her whole thing was, oh, my daughter, I had to get her on the bus for school or whatever. It looks like your mom was perfectly available. Like, I think that her mom should have come to her house early in the morning to handle dropping off Holly at the bus stop and then come to the courthouse later. Or I think that Holly should have slept at her mother's house, because that scene to me was a disaster. And it was just a case of very poor planning. And I felt bad for her mom that she got the brunt of Ashley's frustration and anger about missing the court date. But to me, this was, poor planning on her part. But I digress. So she now has to refile her case, which we already know. She had filed for divorce in the past. And then, this was the one where it got dismissed because neither of them showed up. And so now she had to go ahead. So then we get something a little bit more on a positive note, which is that Taylor and Ryan go out on their little golfing date. And we get a voiceover of Ryan telling Taylor, there's something so interesting. So when they get out of the cart and they're walking towards the green, we get a voiceover of Ryan telling Taylor that he and Amanda are moving into a bigger house that'll have more room for the baby, Amanda's son, and then Bentley can come over anytime. So I said, wait a minute, we're missing some people, right? Ryan, your new baby with Amanda, Amanda's son from a previous relationship, and Bentley. There are two children missing. And I thought that he had like some level of visitation. It's not much, but he has some level of visitation. So I do find it interesting that he did not at all mention his children with Mackenzie. And at this point, I start wondering, is it because they're kind of like, being written off because he's in like a stalemate with their mother? Or is there some kind of order where they're not allowed to be shown or brought up on the show? Now, speaking of things that are not shown or brought up on the show, at this point, I'm disgusted with the kind of like comeback kid storyline that they're giving to Ryan and how they ignored his abuse of Mackenzie. I really wish that was discussed a little bit more, not a little bit more, but a lot more on this season of the show, because it was truly atrocious. When he was, doing terrible things to Macy and Taylor, it was a big deal. But when he mistreats Mackenzie, we could just kind of like brush it under the rug. Don't love that, you guys. I don't. Now, there's also something else that I learned, which is that Macy was Taylor's first girlfriend. Holy cow. Can you imagine going from never having a serious girlfriend to dating a girl long distance who has a son by a rug addict? And, that was wild to me. But listen, Macy was a knockout back in those days. She was a knockout. Absolutely stunning. I loved this little clip that they showed of her and the throwback. So I see why he decided to risk it all for her, or why it was such a big draw to him. So it kind of reminds me of Chelsea and Cole's situation, right? So Cole never had a serious girlfriend, and then he gets into this relationship with Chelsea. Chelsea, similar situation where she's got this kind of like deadbeat baby daddy, rug addict sort of a thing. And very interesting stuff. God bless these guys. That's very overwhelming to have as your first relationship, but obviously it worked out for them. So kudos to them on that. And so to wrap up the golfing scene, both of the men apologize for the role that they played in the drama between them. So we already know that Taylor, he screamed at Ryan's parents, as he should have, right? Because Ryan's parents were more interested in protecting his image and pretending he doesn't have a problem than they were in protecting his son Bentley. So I think he was perfectly well within reason to curse them out for that, but I understand why, in the name of moving forward on a better or on a clean slate, he decided to apologize nonetheless. And then why don't we get into Cheyenne? So Cheyenne, actually no, before Cheyenne, let's talk about this like IVF party that Mackenzie and Cassania throw. So she takes her son to the bakery to pick up some cakes that she had made for the IVF party. So there's like, eggs, sperm, things like that. And I thought they were really funny. So, good for them, adding some levity to such a situation. There's something so housewives coded about it to me. And so they played this game that I found absolutely hilarious, which was pin the sperm on the egg. So there she is explaining the rules to everybody. So that was really funny. And I thought it was a kind of a cool little thing. The only thing that I found rather weird about this party was like the pee break. It was like, okay, you guys, we're having a great time. Now I'm going to pee on a stick and see if I'm pregnant. I was like, oh my God, this is really out there, congrats to them. This is very interesting. I don't know if I could do all of this. There's so much pressure on you, like, peeing, but okay. Then we get to Cheyenne. She also has a fertility storyline this year. She wants to have a child by Zach, and it's not working so far. And so she's trying all these alternative methods to get pregnant. And her friend Zaina from, what was that show called? The Ultimatum. Bless Zaina. I think she's absolutely adorable. I really do like her. But bless her, because the way that she was in a relationship with a man who acted like he had never met her before was crazy to me, right? And so they go and do some kind of yoni steaming to see if that's going to help get her pregnant. And then we get into the Thanksgiving dinner that is held at Brianna's home. You see Devon shows up. You see members of his family. So I thought it was really beautiful that Brianna and her mom listened to what the psychologist was saying about Nova's feelings about not having her dad around and not feeling connected to his side of the family. Because remember, Nova, she looks black, right? She's biracial, but she looks black. So I'll just say she's black, right? People see her as black. And so she's being raised by this family of Latinas who are not black, right? So she's feeling like the only black girl in the house. Even her sister Stella, she looks more like Brittany. She looks more like Brianna, more like Roxanne than Nova does. So I get the feeling that there's some kind of like, I need to connect, with my black relatives a little bit more, right? Not just, because this is my dad, but I want to feel some, black energy, like I want to have some like traditional Black American Thanksgiving dishes and this and that. So, I'm really happy that they were able to make that happen for her. And so then Brianna pulls Devon aside to talk to him a little bit more about what's going on with Nova's therapy. And by the way, actually, before she pulls him to the side outside, he's sitting there talking to Roxanne about how he's making $50 an hour over there in Michigan, and how he's not going anywhere. I was like, damn, listen, $50 an hour is good. I see why he's happy over there, and hopefully he's saving money. Here's the thing about Devon. Whenever I think about Devon, you know what I think about? Do y'all remember? This would have been 3 seasons ago or so, maybe more, where he was dressed up head to toe, Burberry, with like a Gucci bag, Gucci belt. Meanwhile, he didn't have like a proper apartment. And when his daughter would visit him, his daughter was sleeping on the couch. For him to get around town, he's riding the bus, right? That's what I think about when I think about him. So I'm like, dude, like, I hope you have better money management now, and that you're not spending this money like buying these sorts of things, right? I hope that you're like, okay, let me save this money, put it to the side so that I can come back to Florida with a good like nest egg, and then, combine it with the salary from being on the show, because he is paid for the show. It's not something he does for free. He can make, a way, right? Maybe even with Brianna's help, he can buy a house cash, maybe with a loan from her or something like that, or just maybe just saving up between the job in Detroit, or sorry, in Michigan, and the show. He could buy something cash and then like really cut down on his day-to-day expenses so he could take on a job in Florida close to his daughter that may not pay as much. But listen, when your expenses are not that high, it's a good deal, right? So I really, really hope that that situation works out for him. But I understand why Nova is upset and why Brianna and her family are anxious about this, right? She's only a kid one time and she's feeling really out of touch with her dad and his side of the family. And so I don't know, is it money or daughter now, right? But the thing is, if he's in town and he has no money, that's an issue too. So I really hope that they're able to find something for him. But wasn't like Kale supposed to be his manager when she was trying to piss off Brianna? Didn't she have Devon on her podcast and he was talking about opening a food truck? Like, is that what he's saving towards? Because I hope so. That would be cool, having a food truck, making money that way, right? And then like Kale was supposed to get him brand deals or something like that. What happened to that? What happened to that? Just curious. Why don't we get back to Ashley in Vegas? So she invites her mother to talk about the high stress situation at court in the morning, where Ashley had missed her court date technically because she showed up like an hour late, right? And so her mom doesn't understand why Ashley had such like, vitriol towards her for it. And Ashley's like, well, why wouldn't I be pissed off about it, right? And so she just flips out on her mom completely. Again, I'm like, I'm sorry, but this was a result of your poor planning. You know what time your daughter goes to school every day. You knew what time your court case was. So why the hell did you need for your mom? Why did you need to go to her house, pick her up when you're already late for court? Why is your mom sitting idle at her house when she could have been helping you get your daughter on the bus or drop your daughter off to school and then meet you at the courthouse? To me, I understand Ashley's frustration, of course, right? This is a high stress situation. She's probably still dealing with the PTSD of being kidnapped by Barr, right? And held against her will. But I think that she could have planned the situation better, right? And so her mom, she walks away and says, listen, I love you, but I'm not going to be spoken to this way. And then that causes Ashley to flip out some more. Here's my thing with her mom. You could see it in her mom's eyes that her spirit is still broken. She lost her son the prior season, right? So the year before this. And that's why she went away on this cruise, to just get some space to breathe and to kind of grieve in her own special way. And so to still have this weighing on your heart and everything, then you've got your daughter going through this stuff, which obviously weighs on you as a parent. Then your daughter screaming at you, and you were just trying to be there, to support her and to help her and to tell her, listen, it's no big deal. You just refile it, because you're thinking on the bright side, because I understand where T is coming from. What's done is done, right? Like we can't just keep whining over the fact that we missed the date. Now, what do we have to do? We have to file a new paper. Okay, the paper's already done. Just go freaking refile it. Okay, so what if you have to pay a refiling fee? You have money. You do this show. You've got these businesses on the side. You've got the money. What is it, like $200 or something like that? It sucks to waste, but that's all you can do. What do you want your mom to say? Do you want her to commiserate with you and say, oh, they should have done that? No, it's not their fault. The only fault here is the poor planning. So to me, they were both right, but I understand why Ashley's frustrated, and I understand that her mom didn't want to be spoken to that way. You could tell like her heart is still just absolutely broken and shattered. So I felt really badly for her. And so at this point, Ashley starts having a breakdown to the producers about how, she's been there for everybody in the family lately. She says, you took your happy ass to a cruise when you got a daughter at home. No, I don't think it was nice to call your mom a bad parent on TV for going on a cruise to work. She went away to work. It wasn't a cruise to have fun. She was working. She was a pastry chef on that cruise. And this was a dream of hers. It was a once in a lifetime opportunity. And Ashley said she had to step up for her little sister, which, I get that that's a little, but her little sister is not like Holly's age. Her sister's autonomous too, so I don't know what level of step up she's talking about. I'm sure she helped, but I felt like it was weird to kind of frame what her mom went through as some sort of a happy ass vacation. When you see this woman and you see that her heart is still broken, you can feel that through the screen. She lost her son. That's a child that she will never get back. And she just wanted to do something for herself, like a dream for herself. And this was her opportunity. And so you agreed to help her. And now you're throwing it in her face because you couldn't execute a plan properly to get to court on time. Like, that to me felt extremely, extremely unfair. And, I imagine that she probably feels bad about it and has apologized for it since. Like that was a very dramatic reaction to have to something as simple as, it's not even like, oh, you missed this court date, you could never, ever divorce Bar. It's, you could still divorce this man just later than you wanted to initially. Things happen and it's fine, right? Anyway, that was really sad. It really, really was sad. Like, God bless Ashley and T in this situation. I don't know how I would have reacted if all I was trying to do was help somebody. And this is how they reacted to me. And then they started, kind of low key calling me a bad parent because I went and did something to, to kind of get my mind off the sun that my son died. That was a lot. But here's my question. Where the hell's the father of Ashley's little sister anyway? Where's Ashley's father? I went to look up this information because that's what I was wondering. I was like, well, why would Ashley be responsible for her little sister? Like, I imagine you created this child with a man. So where's the dad? Does anybody know? Because I didn't watch Young and Pregnant. I went online to look it up. I didn't see any information. So if anybody knows, please, feel free to share that information in the chat, okay? So back to Devon and Brianna in their conversation. Devon thanks Brianna for telling him about Nova's kind of mental health situation with the psychologist. And I'm hoping that he's going to change. And, but here's the thing. He's making that money. I think what he can do is come back more often on the weekends, come stay at Brianna's house on the weekends or something like that. Book your flights far in advance so that they're cheaper, so that you're able to do that. Just find some way to be there, while you continue to make your money in Michigan, and then have a good plan for your money so that when you make a certain amount, you're able to come back to Florida and be there for your child. I don't know that it's all that feasible for him to abruptly leave this sort of a job. $50 an hour is a lot to be making, right? Especially when you don't have a sort of higher education. And so, I see both sides, why she and Nova want him in Florida, of course, but why he needs to be in Michigan. He's not there, for no reason. He's there trying to make money. And I hope that money, he can save a certain amount of it and invest it into something, whether it is a house or whether it is a food truck or something, so that he could either have lower living expenses when he gets back to Florida, or he can have a business that makes him, a different kind of revenue when he's in Florida. Now, we end things on a lighter note. Okay, so at this point, Mackenzie and Cassano are in the bathroom checking out the pregnancy test while everybody else is waiting for them in the living room at their IVF party. Are they or are they not pregnant, right? So they sit together and they count to 3, and then they take a look at the results of the pregnancy. And what do they find out? They're pregnant. Mackenzie is currently expecting twins, as she announced on the Drew Barrymore show the other week. So congratulations to Cassano and Mackenzie. Y'all already know how I feel about Mackenzie. Mackenzie raising children of color, good luck to them. Congratulations and good luck to them. Let me end that there. Let me know what y'all thought about last week's episode of Teen Mom Next Chapter. Per usual, I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say about everything. Don't forget, I've got a link in the description box of this video that you can use to sign up for a free Philo account to start streaming some of your favorite shows on Philo. They've got WeTV, MTV, Lifetime, A&E, so many different shows. There are so many stations. There are so many different shows that I love to watch over on Philo. Take good care of yourselves, you guys, and I'll see you in my next last. Well, how do you say this? Hang on. I'm like Karen Huger with the way. Hang on a minute. I'm going to get this right. I'll see you in my next Teen Mom Next Chapter recap. Take care, you guys. Bye.